The way I look at it is it's all a learning lesson. Anything that's a pain in the ass is once you identify it, you also identify the opportunity, right? Because here's the thing. The thing that's a pain in the ass about wholesaling, rehabbing, new builds, whatever. The thing that's a pain in the ass for you is probably a pain in the ass for others. But then you just found the opportunity. You just found an opportunity to make the business more efficient. You just found a thing to do better than anybody else.
Welcome to Take Action Entrepreneurs Podcast,
where we interview entrepreneurs who took action and got to the top of their industry. And on this podcast, we share with you exactly how they did it. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Vernon Vaughan here with us, and he is a huge developer, a home builder, and investor in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. He has been in business for over 15 years now and has done over millions of dollars worth of development deals. He's also the owner of Infill 101, where he teaches his students how to do their first development project.
Awesome work. So thank you, Vernon, for being here with us. Just want to let everybody know we have a questionnaire that we did on Instagram, and we're going to go ahead and answer everybody's question towards the end. So make sure you stay tuned till the end.
Well, let's get right into it, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here, fellas. Very happy to be here, man.
Yeah, man. So what made you want to get into real estate? And more specifically, what made you want to get into development?
For real estate, I saw the ability to make money. I mean, just to keep it honest, man. I saw the profit potential in real estate. One thing I loved about real estate is you can do it so many different ways, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Some guys are super fancy, suit every day, name on the side of the building. Other guys don't even have business cards and just wear jeans and T-shirts. But the great thing I love about real estate is you can do it any way you want to. And in so many fields and occupations, you can't.
Right.
And so that's the thing I love about real estate.
Right.
Is it gives you that flexibility and that freedom.
Absolutely right. I believe it, man. I love coming into the office and wearing sneakers if I want to, or coming in a button-up if I want to.
There you go, man. My outfit is sweatpants and Air Max, man.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So why did you choose development over fix and flips?
So it's not that I chose it over fix and flips, because I still do fix and flips to this day, still wholesales.
Oh, wow.
Everything. So one thing is I never, I always tell people you don't have to, when it comes to real estate investing, you don't have to label yourself as anything, right?
Right.
I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't feel forced into one box or another. Always do what works for you at the time that it works for you. One thing that led me to new build development was that I saw how competitive the market was getting again. Like, I've been in this business since 03. So I've been through a full cycle, right? I went through 08, 9, 10, whatever. And I was in the business during run up to it. So I saw I saw people doing very difficult deals with slim margins. And I was like, well, man, I'm not doing that again, because I saw how that movie ended. And so instead of fighting for the same houses that everybody was fighting for, I was like, look, man, let me find a pond that everybody isn't fishing from. And for me, that's
a good way to put it.
Was infill development. It was people fighting over houses and driving right past a super profitable piece of dirt. And so I just saw the opportunity there.
And you jumped right to it. So you started off wholesaling.
So very first deal I ever did was a lease option deal in Capitol Heights, Maryland. One deal, then jumped right into wholesaling and rehabbing, like almost at the same time. Have done buy and holds along the way. Great, mortgage and foreclosure meltdown of 08. Kind of survived by wholesaling, because at that time it was some great deals out there, but funding had dried up. And so it's like, it was stuff I wholesale that I should have never, ever wholesaled. I got to say that. I got to say that. It's the only thing that keeps me up at night.
Okay.
Right? I'm talking about houses in Prince George's County for, one house I wholesaled was a house and an accessory dwelling unit. Mm-hmm. I think I wholesaled it for like $50K. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Should have never ever.
So you can't. But that doesn't let you sleep at night.
But guess what? Mm-hmm. Wasn't no funding for me at the time.
Oh.
So it was either wholesale it or miss out on it.
Right.
But yeah, man. But it was but yeah, I've kind of, you know, and to this day, like I said, I still kind of do all of them. So I never say, all right, this is the thing I'm doing, and I'm only doing this. I kind of look at it as, you know, it's something else to add to your toolkit.
Okay.
Yep.
And so has all your deals always been primarily in the PG County area? By the way, are you from PG County, Maryland?
So born in DC, raised in Prince George's County,
Awesome.
lifelong Prince George's County.
Yeah.
All of my deals have been in Washington, you know, in the PG County, DC, Northern Virginia. So in the DMV, in the greater Baltimore area. I have done one out-of-state deal. Back in '07, I did a condo conversion project in Jersey City. But besides that, man, I'm like, look, man, I know this area like the back of my hand.
Right.
You know, like, dude, double down on that, right?
Double
down on that.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
I love it.
So when did you come across your first development deal?
First development deal was done back in 2016 in Laurel, Maryland. That was our first infill development project.
Okay.
It was a learning lesson, man.
So what did you learn? What did you learn from your first development project?
So learn that on any project, whether it's rehab, new build, even getting a rental ready for a tenant, you know, time is money. The best way to mess up a good deal is to take too long.
Right.
I don't care if the market's going up. I don't care if the market is increasing. It's going to cost you.
Yeah.
Either real money or opportunity cost. So I learned that every project, you know, time can be an enemy, right? Speed kills, right?
Yeah.
You can use it to kill, or it can kill you. Lack of speed can kill you all day long.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds real scary, man. But besides time killing a deal, have you had any other scares that come with developing? Do you have any horror stories, and what's your worst one?
Dude, the way I look at it is it's all a learning lesson.
Yeah.
And so the way I look at anything that's a pain in the ass is once you identify it, you also identify the opportunity, right? Because here's the thing. The thing that's a pain in the ass about wholesaling, rehabbing, new builds, whatever. The thing that's a pain in the ass for you is probably a pain in the ass for others. But then you just found the opportunity. You just found
There you
an
go.
opportunity
Yeah.
to make the business more efficient. You just found a thing to do better than anybody else is doing.
Right.
But in terms of horror stories, you know, we've had properties where we've had, one thing about new builds is that, so let's take, for instance, the scenario of a rehab. Typically on a rehab, you sell it, you're done, right? On a new build, as builders, we have parts of the house that we have to warranty. So you got to build it to not break, not just today and not just surviving through settlement, but after settlement.
Oh, wow.
And so that teaches you, like, all right, that teaches you don't cut any corners, don't build stuff that you even think will break.
Because you're still liable for whatever happens.
How many years are you liable for that development?
It depends. It's parts of it where you've got kind of workmanship and materials that are like 5 years. There are larger parts of the house structural that may be 10 years. In the business, you've got warranty companies, right? And not homeowner warranty companies, but builder warranty companies, and they act like almost like an insurance company.
Okay.
So they say, okay, hey, we'll warranty this. We'll be the underwriter of it, and we'll hold the builder to do certain parts of the warranty. But if the builder doesn't, we have to agree to step in and take care of it.
Is that only like in this market, in the Maryland market, or is
So
it
it's
everywhere?
so it's definitely in the state of Maryland, and I would hope that other states have that builder warranty protection in place. So like in the state of Maryland, there's a list of approved warranty companies that before you get a builder's license, you have to be signed up for. And once again, that's to protect the consumer. Because if that protection isn't there, and you saying like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Builder, we're going to take your word that you're going to be around in 10 years to warranty this house, that's rolling the dice.
Right.
So you got to have these companies that are going to be around, that even if the builder doesn't do what they're supposed to do, the consumer is still covered.
So let's go back to when you said you got your first deal in 2016, correct? Take us back a little bit, especially because I want the people who are watching this right now and that want to do their first development project,
Right.
Take us back a little bit about, what was going through your head when you said, okay, I'm going to buy this piece of dirt and I'm going to just build a house.
That's a good question. I ask myself that thing.
I'm
that question every day.
gonna talk about the origin story. So once again,
Okay.
I just we decided that okay, it's probably an opportunity here with building there, right? Mm-hmm. Because I had been in the business at that point, 13, 14 years, and even new builds kind of intimidated me. Mm-hmm. Right? I looked at it and was like, man, I saw all the things that could go wrong.
Right.
And so I had to be like, well, look, if you're experienced and if it intimidates you, then on the other side of that intimidation is an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a barrier to entry, but it's a barrier to entry that you can overcome. So,
Right.
So
the bigger the risk, the bigger the rewards.
Exactly. I don't consider I take a lot of risk. Like I honestly I gravitate towards deals that are idiot-proof. Mm-hmm. I think I'm smart, but I ain't the smartest dude on the planet, right? I'm not without my fault. So I don't look for stuff where everything has to go right to make money.
Okay.
I look for deals that are literally idiot-proof. And you find those by finding stuff that nobody else wants to deal with. And you identify the issues and you solve the issues and you got an opportunity. But, so we kind of saw that, look, there's an opportunity here with this new building stuff. I spent the better part of about a year and a half trying to learn the business, right? Seeked out some mentors, a tribe of mentors, got some great advice.
And at the time, what were you doing at the moment?
Still doing rehabs.
Okay.
Still doing rehabs. And I remember there were 2 projects back to back that made me say, okay, you got this. It was one rehab project we did where it was a fire damaged house in Waldorf, Maryland.
So complete that.
Complete gut.
And that gave you the
where
confidence.
we did almost everything except for the foundation, right? The very next project was a house where we had to rebuild the foundation section by section.
So you got your experience right
between
there.
those 2 projects, we had built the house. So I was like, it's time to build a house.
That is awesome.
Time to build a house.
Yeah.
And we our first deal we found sitting on the MLS. And listen, in my life, I have not purchased a lot of great deals on the MLS, right? I just haven't. I can't find them usually, right? So we found some land on the MLS. It had been sitting there already for like 30-something days. And I was like, on paper, it's a good deal. But I'm like, but it's been on the MLS for 30 days. Like, who lets a good deal sit on the MLS for 30 days, right? Meanwhile, for houses, people are like paying above ask, even when they shouldn't be. And I'm like, this is a good deal on paper, but why is it still available? And that would be something that I kept thinking that thought would often come back to me down the road as I progressed. And once again, that was something that made me think like, all right, dude, this opportunity, because you've got stuff that, like you can source great deals off the MLS. I'm like, man, with houses, not saying you can't do it, but like you got to have you got to offer on everything, follow up on everything, and for land, I mean, that was kind of one of the first things that let me know, like, all right, it's some opportunity here. And so the first one, we found it on the MLS in Laurel, Maryland. Hired, did the due diligence on it, hired an architect to come up with a plan, built a beautiful house. It took way longer than we were supposed to. I think almost twice as long as we're supposed to, but it was just parts of the process that, we kind of had a roadmap, we kind of had a workflow, but some stuff you just aren't going to know until you deal with it the first time. So the first one, I always say that was our freshman year as a builder.
As far as fix and flips, we all know we go to hard money lender, private money lender. How did you fund the first development deal?
So very first infill development deal was funded partially in cash and partially using a private money lender's self-directed IRA.
Okay.
Yep.
And they look at the deal too and make sure that everything was.
Yeah, and in the same way, we source flip. I mean, we fund flips. I mean, you've got what you call your capital stack. Your cash on hand, your private lenders, your hard money,
Right.
equity partners, and or bank financing.
Okay.
So that first development project, I feel like a lot of people that don't understand development, they might wonder, Can you get financing for the lot, or do you have to buy that cash?
So the answer is yes and yes. So so as with anything, it depends on how bankable you are, how credible you are, what access to capital you have, right?
Right.
I mean, there are some things, you know, if I went to a lender, they wouldn't finance. And if somebody else went to a lender and tried to finance the same project, they'd be like, sure. So it just depends on how credible you are. Some people may struggle finding private capital. Other people have people like saying, please take my, please, let me write you a check.
Yeah.
Ultimately, everything, I always say, kind of starts with a pro forma, which is a fancy word for for profit projection, right?
Okay.
It starts there. Like even before you mention to anybody else, you need to make sure on paper it makes money. And when I
Okay.
say that, it's like, all right, if we're talking a rehab, somebody might say I pay 70% of ARV, 75% of ARV minus rehab. Cool. And that gets you out of bid. That gets you to look at the deal. And that may even get you to put it under contract. But you better have a spreadsheet where you plug in numbers, you plug in your cost of capital, you plug in how long it'll take, you plug in your rehab value. I mean your rehab cost or your new build cost and your sale price, and you see what it looks like on the bottom line. So make sure it makes sense to you before you go and try to sell it to anybody else. Before you try to sell it to your partners, private lenders, hard money, or banks. Make sure you got that first.
Gotcha.
And like I said, and when those numbers work out, if you've got a profitable deal, you'll find the capital, right?
Right.
You'll find the capital. You will absolutely find the capital if you've got a profitable deal and a good track record.
Right.
Right.
Good track record. And when you don't have if you're newer in the business and you don't have a track record, look for
A partner.
Look for a partner, man.
Yeah.
It's better to have a piece of a deal that's gonna make you capital and build a track record than to be like, oh, guess I can't do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. People being greedy are never going to win.
They're not, man.
It's all
They're
about partnering, collaboration over competition. I'm a big believer in that. How did you find that first development deal?
So that first one was on the MLS, and a lot of the lot deals, infill development deals we've done, we've been able to source on the MLS. As shocking as it is, we've been able to source them on the MLS. A lot of times with almost no competition. Like 2
So
weeks
you're
ago,
telling me that the lots that you're finding, infill lots,
some
correct?
of them are
Some of them.
MLS. We still do direct to seller, but
Okay.
we can still source on the
the
MLS. Like
Wow.
I've been building since 16. About 2 weeks ago, for the first time, and what's this? What 5 years? First time in 5 years, I made an offer on a lot, and somebody else got it.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, I've been able to grab 100% of the on-market lots I offer at a price that makes sense. I have not
Okay.
overpaid for a lot yet.
What's the percentages that you're looking at when it comes to buying these lots on the MLS?
So off-market, on-market doesn't matter.
Okay.
Typically, I'm somewhere around 15% of the after build value. Fancy way of saying after repair value. About 15% of that
So new builds.
on average.
So
Yep.
you look at the new builds in the area. and-
Or right, some cases, I'll look at rehabbed comps or comps in very good condition that are going to be within 15 to 20% of what I plan on building.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's
Because
a good way.
so one thing as a in my development business, I focus on infill development. Infill development specifically is building in areas that are already 90% built up. Think like 80 to 90% built up. So by default, you're not necessarily going to find a lot of new construction comps. You will find some. You'll
Right.
find some other infill builders, but sometimes you're going to need to refer to a rehab property or property that's in very good condition.
Right.
Yep.
So I have a good question for you. Let's just say properties are somewhere around 300,000. You're the first one with a new build there. Mm-hmm. What would you do? Like, would you actually put it up for $100,000 more? How do you come up with the calculations of what you're gonna put it up on the market for.
Right. So I probably wouldn't be the first one there to do a new build. Once again, so I like idiot-proof deals. I
Okay.
like proof of concept.
Okay.
Right.
So I like to see that there's a demand for the finished product. But let's say I've identified this as a hot area, and let's say it's 99% built up. So let's just say it's one lot in town, and I got it. And it's like, okay, there are no new builds at all, right? And after I build this one, there ain't gonna be no more until more land becomes available.
Right.
I'm gonna take a look at the comps on existing homes, rehab stuff that's in good condition.
Okay.
Yep. And sometimes there's a big gap between what a newly built house and what a renovated house the same size go for. Sometimes there's a big spread between those two. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes they're close.
We noticed there was a house in. Oh, actually, no, that was a rehab. The house in Riverdale, and it looked like a new build, and it was selling for like 500, and ARV in that area is
No, that was
around
a
3.
rehab.
That was a complete rehab.
Yeah.
But that's like 100 to 200, difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, one, like they're, so one thing I love about some of the markets I build in is there are other infill developers there that do all the heavy lifting. Like they set crazy high comps.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like,
See, you're answering my question.
Yeah,
there,
so I don't look at it like, oh, competition. I'm like, man, one day I need to send these dudes a thank you note. Because
Right.
they are like
They're the trendsetters.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they did proof of concept for me.
What do you do, Vernon, when there's no comps in the area
For new builds.
for new builds? Yeah, because, how do you set that price? Are you the first one to, ARV might be 300, and you want to put your new build on the market for like 400? That's $100,000 over.
Right.
Well, tell us about that.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say like, okay, how come there aren't new build comps, right?
Right.
I'm gonna ask, is there a demand for the product? Now maybe it's a case where the neighborhood is 99.99% built up, and so this one lot is the only lot, and I'm about to lock it up. And right, so it's not gonna be any new build comps because the only piece of land you could build on, I'm about to buy it. So in that case, I'm gonna just take a look at existing homes that are either rehabbed or in great condition that
Okay.
are within 15 to 20% when it comes to size of what I want to build, right? I always want to make sure I'm comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
I'm never going to take a look at a 4,000 square foot house and say that's worth $400,000 and a 2,000 square foot house should be worth 200,000. No, I'm never going to make that assumption. So I
Okay.
want it to be close in size so I can make an assumption comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
So I'm going to look at that, but I'm going to look at it where I don't have new construction comps to choose from. I'm going to take a look at existing inventory, whether great condition or fully rehabbed. Now, sometimes, now in a case where there are new construction comps, which I love to see, and in a lot of neighborhoods we're in, we weren't the first to get there. Like the reason I love these neighborhoods is because somebody else already proved the concept.
Okay.
Right?
So the trendsetters.
Somebody already took the risk, right? And once again, I remember I said I like stuff to be idiot-proof. So I like when I go in a neighborhood and I see like, okay, I don't need to be the first there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? I don't need to be the first there. And so when somebody's done the heavy lifting and when they've established the comps, when they've taken the lumps already, and I kind of get to come in and piggyback is a great thing. And so sometimes it will be sometimes it will be a large gap in between a renovated house and a new construction. Sometimes it could be $100,000 difference. Some neighborhoods, it can be not much of a difference.
Do you look at how long that new build was on the market?
Oh, all the time. That's part of my
Okay.
proof of concept.
Okay.
All the time. Now, sometimes it can be misleading. So if you're looking at days on market on the MLS, some builders start marketing the property before they've even broken ground. So
yeah,
sometimes,
that's true.
sometimes you can't tell.
You post
sometimes,
I've noticed that sometimes they
Sometimes
post a
like-
3D picture.
Sometimes it'll be like 600 days on market. It's like, dude, they put it on market before they ever broke ground. So sometimes you can't tell.
Okay.
Yeah. So what was your initial investment, doing your first development project?
So initial
that-
like
as far as
cash outlay or the
How do-
numbers on it.
Whatever you got out of your pocket to put up for the project?
I think on the first project, we funded lot acquisition. That was like $31K plus the engineering, so the due diligence, the architectural, probably permits. So we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 45 to maybe 50K skin in the game, cash out of pocket on the first deal. And a lot of our deals we do like that are kind of the same way, where we'll acquire the lot, the land, cash or mostly cash, and fund the construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how long does it typically take a project like?
Project, so typically from I would say typically from the day you break ground to when you're selling a finished product, a lot of times it's the better part of 8 to 9 months. Trying to get the process down. So I know some of the big builders, from the day they break ground to when they're done a house, some of them are doing it in 14 weeks. So that's a schedule we're trying to get on, because once again, time is money, man.
Right.
Time is money. Faster we can turn that, the velocity of capital, so faster we can turn it around, cuts down on debt service. Once again, if you hold any project long enough, you're going to have holding costs, you're going to have opportunity costs, which is real.
Right.
I mean, there are some phenomenal deals where we had to pass them up because it's just like, dude, the pipeline is full.
Right. So I know a lot of people are wondering, right? Because you're investing a lot of money and you're investing a lot of time. A lot of people are probably wondering how much profits are you making out of each development project?
So on our average new builds, we are probably netting somewhere like 20 to 25% net.
Okay.
Net.
And you did say that time is a big thing with new construction. Okay. So how do you find your contractors that can, get to the point, get to work, and get it done in hopefully in 14 weeks? That's what you said.
Right, and we're working towards that. So the best way to find anything, right, whether a contractor, whether an attorney, a title company, is number one, ask other people who are in the business.
Yeah.
Right? So ask your colleagues, ask your peers for recommendations. So ask them who they recommend. Second thing to ask is, have you actually used that person? Because sometimes somebody will have heard a recommendation from somebody else and they won't have used them, but they'll recommend them to somebody else. And so sometimes you're like, hey, I heard this guy was good, but I've never used it. Preferably use somebody that somebody has firsthand experience with using.
Okay.
For new construction, you've got some trades that you may have used on rehabs that don't, and those same guys don't translate that great to new construction. They don't. It's a same trade, but some specialized knowledge. One thing we've learned, and we keep learning, especially on new construction where time is money, is to deal with contractors, especially your MEPs, your mechanical, your electrical, your plumbing, people that know the permitting process. Because infrastructure, utilities, water, electric, gas, those things can hang you up. They can tie you up.
Right.
And so it's important to have contractors that know that process and can remove the guesswork. Because if you're the one on the phone talking to inspectors or at the permit office, if you don't know that, you're doing it wrong. Because our job is to go out and source more deals, raise more money.
So you're saying it's completely automated. You get the deal, you get the contractor, boom, they do the work. Do you ever step in?
That's well, as builders, our job is to kind of conduct the project like a symphony, right? Is to bring together all the pieces. So, for instance, my job isn't to hang drywall. My job isn't to paint.
Of course, no.
My job isn't to pour foundation. My job is to get contractors who are capable of it, capable of delivering it on time, on budget, and to kind of control the flow, the tempo, and to say, hey, here's what we want to do. Here's what it should look like. And it's our job to make sure we put the people in place at the right time.
Okay.
That's the thing that we do, most importantly.
When do you ever step in? Do you ever
all
walk
the
into
time,
the
dude,
business?
all the time.
Okay.
All the time. So, yeah, the work. the work on your business, not in your business. It sounds great on a T-shirt, but real talk, you're always in your business. And it's, but listen, there are, with it, even when working in your business, it's $10 an hour jobs that you definitely shouldn't be doing, right? It's $250,000 a year jobs that you should be doing, right? But $10 an hour stuff you should not be. Ideally, you shouldn't be doing it. Ultimately, we do what we got to do when we got to do it. But when we find ourselves doing something that's just dumb, waste of time, we vow like, all right, we're not doing this again. Like, so we'll pay more. We'll pay more to not do it again because it's costing us money.
Right.
Have you ever had like an emergency call with like, hey, you need to step into the building. I got something for you to look at.
All the time.
All the time. Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
So walk us through. I mean, what's your daily schedule looking like at the moment?
So right now with a few deals in the pipeline and a few active deals going on, it's between due diligence on deals that are in the pipeline, or in some cases dealing with permitting, dealing with design, and then active management of the deals that are already acquired and undergoing rehab or undergoing build.
I got a good question for you. Is there a certain design you like to work with just because it's easier?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say easier, but desirable. So here's the thing. So I always look for, forget what I like. Like, what does the buyer pool,
like.
what does the consumer want? And give them exactly that.
How do you figure that out?
Knowledge of the neighborhood. So so once you've kind of identified a hot neighborhood or a profitable neighborhood, it's like, okay, what is the end product gonna look like?
Copy and paste.
Yeah. What is once again, right? You could try to be the first one to build whatever, but like, why would you?
One of those new modern homes, the box looking homes.
Dude, some neighborhoods the box works.
Right.
Other neighborhoods the box does not work at all. You gotta know your neighborhood. You gotta know what finishes your buyer pool is looking for. But like right now, generally, man, open floor plans are selling. The farmhouse look is selling. I mean, it's kind of, once again, copy and paste. It's like, all right, find what people want and give it to them exactly.
Boom. Just like that.
That's it.
I like that. Yep.
How would you recommend someone starting their first real estate development project?
So what I recommend is talking to a developer. Right? So talking to a developer, one great way.
So getting like a mentor.
Yeah, I mean, so for instance, even before you could definitely get a formal mentor. You say, hey, I want to learn the business, get a formal mentor, and be prepared to pay that person for their time, right? One of the few things that's kind of different about infill development. All the time, when people bring me land, I tell them like, hey, here's everything I'm looking for. Like take notes, like just specifically what I want. And that way you can bring me exactly what I want. And I always offer to people, and if you bring me what I want, if you bring me a deal I end up buying, I will gladly let you peek over my shoulder in the entire process because it will only make you better at bringing me what I want.
Right.
Builders. So here's one thing. So anytime I've got a rehab project and we buy it in the name of an LLC, and you can easily skip trace LLCs or skip trace a resident agent or whatever. I'll get cold called all the time, text message, ringless voicemails, direct mail about houses, right? For land, you can skip trace owners the same way. Like nobody calls about land. So it's two things I don't have. It's for land, I generally don't have anybody marketing to me to buy the land. And also I don't really have wholesalers trying to sell me land. I mean, it's super profitable, but it's not on anybody's radar. And so builders, they're underserved. They really are underserved. Like, you sign up on 3 or 4 wholesalers list and you'll get blasted. Some stuff deals, some stuff not.
Hey, so I know you're enjoying this amazing podcast, but before we continue, I just want to give a huge shout out to Propstream. If you are an agent, investor, and or wholesaler, you need to check out Propstream. For only $97 a month, Propstream allows you to run comps anywhere in the United States, and you can pull over 10,000 leads every single month. And not only that, but you can go ahead and look at the property history of any property. So with that being said, click my affiliate link below for a 7-day free trial today. And don't forget, take action.
It's not, dude, you don't get that many people like, hey, I've got land, sign up for my buyers list. And so when I talk to people that have land, even if it's not what I'm looking for, I'm like, not what I'm looking for, but like here's the map. Here's the cheat code of what I am looking for. And I'll even say like, look, and if you find this, I'll pay X amount.
Okay.
And that's a win-win. That's a win-win for the person that brings a lot. That's a win-win for the builder.
So everyone out there in the DC, Maryland, Virginia market, if you got land, Vernon is looking for land. There's your buyer right there. I mean,
always,
you're saying there's
always
a lack.
looking for land. Always
There's
looking
a
for
lack
land,
of
man.
land.
It is.
I mean, I'm sorry. There's a lack of people searching for land and then bringing it
To the
you,
builders.
To builders.
Yeah. So you primarily build on info lots, correct?
Correct. Yep. So the thing I love about infill lots is that the infrastructure, basic utilities, we know they're already there. So if you've got 5 houses to the right, 5 houses to the left, 10 houses across the street, right, that all have water, gas, and electric, what are the odds that this empty lot can't have or doesn't already have water, gas, electric?
Right. So how do you choose the neighborhoods and the subdivisions that you build on in?
Great question. So I look for what I call high density, high value neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
And so for me right now, high value are neighborhoods where the after built value or after repair value right now is 600,000 or higher.
Oh, wow.
Right, because that allows me to absorb costs and still make profit.
Right.
Okay.
Right, that allows me to absorb an increase in lumber. That allows me to pay the permit fees and impact fees. So that allows me to pay for the land, build the house, and still make a worthwhile profit. Right, just larger the outsale value, typically larger your profit is going to be.
Right.
So high value and then high density. So high density lends itself to high value. All right. So if you take an area that's already 90% built up, right? Already 90% built up. The demand for new housing inventory is going to be super high. It's going to be because it's not like you can.
That's the secret sauce.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like somebody can come in and build 30 houses. Like it's not 30 lots available.
Right.
Right. So that product is going to be super desirable, and also in high value neighborhoods, it's got the amenities that people love. It's a lot of times it's going to be close to public transit. It's going to have the Starbucks. It's going to have the yoga studios. It's going to have the restaurants people like. It's going to be a walkable community, and those things right there make neighborhoods super valuable, make neighborhoods very desirable, and those are things we look for.
Okay, so we're looking at, for those that do land, marketing, wholesaling, whatever you do, we're looking for communities that are walking distance to shopping centers?
To amenities, yeah.
To amenities.
And it doesn't always have to be walking necessarily. Walkable communities are great, but close to amenities.
Okay.
And because, one of the neighborhoods I build in Prince George's County, Prince George's County is one of the most affluent African-American communities in the nation, right?
Right.
But for what it's worth, as affluent as Prince George's County is, Prince George's County only has one Whole Foods, right? And so you got to take a place like Whole Foods, right? So
I never noticed that.
So before
the one in Riverdale, right?
Riverdale, right? So you got to realize, like, all right, so before Whole Foods puts a shovel in the ground, they've ran the numbers, right? Right? They've run the numbers, and they're like, hey, we've decided that this place right here We've looked at we've looked at the demographic, we've looked at the spending power, and this is a profitable bet. So years before they ever put a shovel in the ground, they have spent 6 figures or more just determining that this is before we spend millions of dollars building something. This is the place where we want to be. So you can always piggyback. You can always follow the money, right? You can always follow anytime you see major retailers or anytime you see amenities, that people are going to want. Somebody's already done the math. Even if the houses aren't there yet, even if the development isn't there yet, somebody knows kind of the path of progress. Somebody's following the money. And so once again, you could be a pioneer and be like, I'm going to be the first one to build here, or you could be like, I'm not going to be I'm going to be an early adapter, but I'm not going to be a pioneer.
Right.
I'm gonna follow the money, and I'm gonna take advantage of their 6 figures, 7 figures they spend on research. I'm gonna take advantage of that and just adapt early.
And since we're talking about Whole Foods and that big giant shopping center they created right there in Riverdale, I want to ask you, have you ever thought about moving on to commercial properties?
Yeah. So great thing about adding new construction to the toolkit is that, kind of single family detached homes is entry level, kind of low hanging fruit. But then you've got looking at things like townhouses, looking at things like multi-units, right?
Community of townhouses, yeah.
Townhouses, building multi-units. So right now I build to sell. So right now I build a house, sell it. I'm looking at the model of build it, keep it, and rent it. Right. It's brand new. So for the first several years, your capital expenditure, your maintenance is going to be almost nothing. For multi-units, you could build a brand new building, sell it. Right now Wall Street is paying ridiculously low cap rates, right? So you could build something and sell it to Wall Street. You could build it, lease it up, then sell it to Wall Street or a small hedge fund or anybody who's looking for passive investment.
Right.
Commercial, mixed use. So, once you learn a new skill set like new building, the application can start out as residential, but that's not where you got to stop at.
So what's your future plans at the moment?
Future plans is to
For the genius like you.
Man, I'm telling you, dude, I'm a community college dropout, right? A lot of credits that showed I tried, but I'm still a dropout. But
PG County?
Oh, yeah, PG
community?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, man, I'm smart enough not to.
So there you go, guys. You could be a college dropout and be doing development projects.
There you go.
There you go.
But so some of the future plans in the new build business are to taking a look at things like modular building, because right now I'm only looking primarily in high density, high value neighborhoods. So that means there's a lot of neighborhoods that just don't check the box. They're decent neighborhoods, but they're not necessarily high value. So I'm looking at things like modular to reduce the cost of building, reduce the time, and so that way I can look at neighborhoods that aren't necessarily high value. So that kind of opens up my options for me, looking at building, going from single family homes to a small small townhouse subdivision. So just seeing where it takes me. But even within single family homes, man, there are more lots out there than I can ever build on. Realistically.
Right.
Realistically.
So at the moment, what does your residential development model look like as far as, okay, you buy the lot, you pull out permits, or how are the steps?
So the step is first identifying the opportunity, right? And so for us, that starts with having kind of a small list of neighborhoods where I'm even interested in building it, right? Because, in our business of real estate, to one extent, we're always trying to find a needle in a haystack, right? We're trying to find valuable deals with equity. Doesn't matter if it's cash flow, doesn't matter if it's a rehab deal, doesn't matter if it's a wholesale.
I like the way you put it.
Always a needle in a haystack, right?
Yeah. So
best way to find a needle in a haystack is to make the haystack smaller. Best way to do it, man. Make that haystack smaller. Okay. So once you do that, the opportunity starts to jump out. So in the neighborhoods that I buy in, I know where to market to, but if something, and if a lot hits the market, I already know. I already know how much I'm going to pay for it. Like, I already know. It's not no, like, let me think about it. It's
Let
like,
me
no.
do the math. No.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah.
That's all right. So if it's an
on lockdown.
on-market deal, it's like firing off an offer within a couple of hours.
Okay.
You know, and knowing your number. Not like, man, maybe I should pay this. Nah, this is the number I'm comfortable at going at. This is my highest and best.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it on the table. This is it.
That's it.
This is, and so that's number one. So just knowing,
Finding.
so knowing where, and then once you get that offer accepted, whether it's on market or off market, you get to work on your due diligence, and your
Okay.
due diligence involves, number one, making sure the lot is buildable, right? Because these are patches of dirt, right? They can be super valuable if you can build on it. If you can't build on it, they're worthless. Matter of fact, if you can't build on it, they're worse than worthless, right? Because you're stuck with it.
Right.
All right, you're stuck with it. And typically, if one builder sees another builder selling, they already know, like, "Ah, you're in trouble, aren't you?" All right. So you always spend money on due diligence. You know, sometimes you spend money on due diligence, and the answer is no, you can't build on it, or no, you can't do what you want to do. But better to spend a couple of $1,000s on due diligence than spend six figures on a worthless piece of dirt. So always do due diligence.
What's your due diligence look like?
So
Besides looking at
surveying to make sure
Survey.
that it is in
Okay.
fact buildable. We're going to do soil tests to make sure that
the perk test. Yeah.
Well, not perk, because in an infill area, we've already got utilities there. Soil tests, number one. So in a high density urban area, and they're usually older established neighborhoods. 60 years ago could have been a tire shop there. 60 years ago, it could have been like some small commercial thing, and so they might have demolished it
Before it was even a community.
Right. Or while it was a community. I mean,
While it was a community,
60, 70 years ago, zoning was crazy. Like, so you could have, residential mixed with, a garage here. I mean, one house we bought, one lot we bought in the city of Mount Rainier.
Okay.
We didn't know it at the time, but there had been a house there that caught on fire, and they demolished the house, right?
Okay.
Doing our soil test, the test revealed that there was some debris in the ground. And we found out once we started excavation that whoever did the demolition of the house, they're supposed to have hauled away everything. And they got to some point in demolition and it was like, forget this. Like like the city or county's probably paying us to demo the house and haul it all away. We're going to haul away some of it. The rest of it, we're going to push into a hole and backfill. And so a soil test can kind of help you identify, like, hey, man, you've got debris there. It could be serious where you've got contaminants there. You've got industrial contaminants there. And also, but most importantly, the soil test lets us know that if this lot is compatible with whatever foundation type we're going to do. Kind of lets us know, does it have a high water table or whatever.
I'm sorry, I'm lost right there.
So-
So it's like it
so
depends
for
on
instance-
the amount.
Right. So if you've got a lot that has a high water table, like a lot that just maintains a lot of water on a lot,
Yeah.
it can be like, hey, you're gonna do a house with a basement, like, just to let you know, like, heads up, you might run into some water management issues. It's like,
And
so
so-
it lets you know, like be aware.
Ah, nice. Okay, that's a good way to put it.
So
If that's the case, you would just build one level.
Yeah,
And then
I mean,
keep
so
no basement.
sometimes it just impacts. So it may impact how deep you need to go down, so that you don't have foundation settling. But it's designed to kind of give you an idea, like, okay, what I want to do, can I do it, and what issues might I run into, and how to address those.
right.
So it gives you some insight, so that you're not caught off guard. Right, so that that this house I'm doing,
Right.
okay, I've got to do a great job of waterproofing the basement.
Right.
Good
So-
pointers there.
So after your due diligence, what's the
And-
next step?
And so, kind of runs concurrently with due diligence is design. So
Okay.
you want to start getting so for instance, knowing that you can build on a lot is cool, but can you build what's desired, right? If people are looking for a 3,000 square foot house that looks like whatever, can you do it, right? Or is the lot size saying, nope, most you can do is 1,500 square feet. You might be like, okay, I can build, but I can't
Right.
build something that's going to be profitable.
Right.
Or not that, or maybe the amount I'm buying a lot on makes money if I can build a 3,000 square foot house. If it's only 2,000 square feet, I can't pay that price for the lot. So that design is super important because it lets you know that, once again, I've already identified going into these neighborhoods, we already know what people want. So I got to be sure I can give it to them. If I can't give it to them, I mean, that's important. That's important. That may be for me, that may be a deal breaker. I'm like, I can't give people what they want because I don't want to spend all that time doing something that people just aren't going to want, that there's not going to be a demand for.
Right. So the restrictions in the subdivision.
Yep.
Okay.
And a lot of times, we use that, on one difference between, let's say, putting a house under contract and putting land under contract. With land, sometimes we have to close very fast. I'm sorry, with houses, sometimes we have to close fast. Typically within 30 days, sometimes within 2 weeks. Like late last year, it was a house I looked at on December 11th and got the price I wanted because I told the seller I'd close before Christmas. So I had to move very fast. That was a house to be competitive. On land, typically due diligence is about 30 days to 45 days, and sometimes closing is like a 60-day close.
Right.
And we'll use that due diligence period to do as much as we can. That way, when we finally do close on it, we've already got some things in work, in motions.
Right.
But after we do due diligence design, then we go to the permitting phase. So we take all of that stuff. You have your architect work on design, surveyors, engineers to, lay out what the house looks like, handle any other lot engineering issues, and then you shoot it off to the city or county for approval. And that's kind of where you wait, right? Typically
You do
permitting.
that entire process while the
Property's under
property's
contract.
sitting
We're
in the title.
we're typically doing permits. We're typically doing the permitting process after we've already closed on it.
Oh, okay.
Right? Design can take you better part of a month, right?
Okay.
So that's the concept of what you want. You'll go through a couple of revisions with the architect. And then after it goes off to permitting, which can typically be 3-month period, give or take.
wow.
Even within that, you'll have more revisions. So sometimes the city or county will be like, change this, change that, do this differently. And you'll have to, sometimes there are revisions that don't impact the house at all. Sometimes they're like, hey, county's saying you need to change this or reduce this, and it will kind of impact design of the house, and you need to make some decisions.
Right.
Can you give us an example of some stuff that you had to reduce?
We haven't now, we haven't had to reduce size of a property yet. We are going through revisions right now on a property, and we're waiting for our surveyor and architect to kind of interpret what the city is asking us to change. But some of the things we have to change with architects. There was a property we bought that came with plans. The plans that were already out there, I mean, the house is kind of overbuilt, right? And the house is overbuilt because, the person that sold the lot, which was a builder, they felt to get 4 bedrooms out of the house, they needed to do an additional level. So a third level at 1,000 square feet. It was overbuilt. And we just kind of looked at it and be like, this ain't the best use of space. And so we're able to accomplish the same thing in a smaller house. So, building 1,000 square feet less, that saves us money all day long. That saves us money all day long. So being able to accomplish the same thing in 3,000 square feet as opposed to 4,000 square feet. But it was just knowing it was kind of knowing like out of 3,000 square feet, like we've built a couple of houses, we've rehabbed a few houses. Like, you shouldn't need this amount of space to fit 4 bedrooms. Like, you should be able to do it pretty easily. And so sometimes it's letting the architect know, sometimes it's like, hey, telling the architect, hey, how can we do this instead? Other times it's telling the architect, like, look, I need a 4th bedroom, or I need I need, I need a master bathroom. I need a walk-in closet. Like, I don't know how we'll do it, but I need you to make it happen. Other times it's telling them like, hey, the closet should go here. So,
Okay.
So after you do the permitting, what's next?
So after you get permitting, break ground, get to building, get
Take out the shovel.
get to building. Yep. So you start your you've got site work you've got to do, just getting the site ready. Then you're pouring foundation. Next thing you know, you're framing. You've got to do some infrastructure stuff. So get some of your plumbing, your initial plumbing in, your initial electric in. After you've framed up the house.
So it's plumbing before the.
So you got so even doing a foundation, you've got what's called the groundwork. It's the rough plumbing, right? It's the plumbing that's going to come into the house,
Okay.
and you do that pretty early on in the process. There's other utility work that you do before you ever build anything. So like temporary electric, you do that before. Ideally, you do that before you ever build anything. So like some of the applications for new service with gas company, electric company, water company, those take months. So you have to start that process sometimes as soon as you put it under contract. Because what happens is if they're not done in time, they can be a bottleneck, right? You can get to a point where you're ready to be finished or you're ready to move forward and you can't until, one of those utilities is installed and ready to go. But after we do framing, that's the part of the project where a new build starts to become almost like doing another rehab, right? That's when the house starts to take shape, right? The framing is the skeleton of the house. You get the property what we call under roof, so that's you get exterior sheathing up, windows in, doors in, or roof on. And once you're under roof, you're weather tight. You start doing your rough in. So where the framing is like the skeleton of a house, your rough ends, your plumbing, your mechanicals, your electric. That's that's kind of like the nervous system in a house, right? That's super important stuff that you got to have in the house. You start to run that throughout the house. Then you're gonna do insulation. Then you're gonna close those walls up. And from that point, it's a race to the finish line. At that point, you put in all the pretty stuff. Like up until that point, you've done stuff that's super important that nobody's gonna appreciate, right? Buyers don't go and say, hey, look at that foundation. Hey, look at that framing. Right? Now, if it's done wrong, you won't sell a house. If it's done wrong, it'll cause you a bunch of headaches. But nobody appreciates what's behind the wall, right? Gotta be done right. Spend a lot of money doing it, but nobody appreciates it. But the finishes, your flooring, your trim, your interior doors, your light fixtures, your vanities, your cabinets. That's the that's the stuff that sells the property, right? That's the stuff that makes people see it on Redfin or see it on online and tell the agent, I want to see this house right now.
And we've been to one of your properties out there in Mount Rainier.
Amazing job.
Beautiful finishes, man.
Man, we try, man.
You're artistic. That's what it is.
But I mean, it's giving people what they want. It's really like, all right, what do people want, and giving to them exactly.
We're gonna add some pictures for you guys right now, so you guys can see
some of the projects he's done.
Beautiful projects.
So let's hop into the Instagram questionnaire. We put up a post, like we said in the beginning, we're going to go over the questions that you guys had for him. We put up a questionnaire on Instagram. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Some great questions, man. Some great questions.
So I want to ask you those questions because a lot of people had some great questions. They wanted to ask some questions. And so I'll start off with the ones. We chose a few. We had a lot, but we chose a few ones. So I think we answered a lot just in the beginning. So I didn't put those up, so don't feel any type of way if I didn't, put it here. But, so let's start off with the first one. The first question is asked by King Jaime, REI. He asked, what is the process when presenting the project to raise capital?
So first thing is, once again, starting out with that pro forma or that profit projection, right? Because the numbers, I mean, I don't care if you're trying to sell it to your partners, a hard money lender, a bank, a private investor, the numbers, right? I mean, you can say, hey, I got a great feeling about this project, blah, blah. I love the neighborhood. It's great. Cool. Show me the numbers, right? Show me the data. Show me, show me down to the bottom line. How much should this project make? And even if you got cash, let's say you've got cash, let's say you're not trying to raise any outside capital, make that as one of the things that you do on every deal, because that way when you do have to start, let's say you do start looking for outside capital or partners, once you're used to doing it already, when you need to do it, it's not a big deal. So to me, once again, that's one of the most important things to me. I see stuff, I'm like, okay, it's all right. Do the numbers check out? There are some deals that on paper they look kind of good, but once you run the numbers, you're like, not so good anymore.
Okay. So I'll get this. So Edward A. Vargas, his question is.
Ed does some great work, man.
Yeah. Okay. He's a fix and flipper in the area for the people that don't know.
Absolutely.
On the first few, would you build on undeveloped land or on a tear down property?
Everything I've done so far has been on undeveloped, and let's say vacant land. All right, because in some cases, before I bought it, there was a house there, it's not there anymore, but a vacant lot. I would do a tear down all day long as the numbers made sense. And unfortunately for me, a lot of times the economics of a tear down doesn't work. Because here's the deal. Like right now where we are in the real estate market with how hot it is, somebody will take a property that needs to be torn down, and in their mind, even when they're selling it at a discount, they're asking for too much. I mean, think about, okay, you're going to buy a house that somebody thinks you're going to fix up, but you're going to tear it down.
Right.
Right. And so a lot of times what they may be asking for just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. At all.
It just depends on the deal.
Just depends on the deal. I mean, there's a project I'm working on now, and the architect was like, "Yeah, you guys should just tear it down." I'm like, "Dude, we didn't pay tear down money. Like, yeah, you didn't pay tear down money, so we're not tearing it down. We're going to do extensive rehab, but yeah, and that's, but I don't care all day long. I do it all day long.
Depends on the deal.
Yeah.
So Landlord J on Instagram wants to know, what's the market forecast on residential new builds?
I mean, the foreseeable is that it's going to continue to be hot. I mean, and I don't got a crystal ball. We've been on a pretty long run, right? So real estate is, cyclical. We've been on a decade plus long run. Right now, money is super cheap. The short-term forecast is good. I think here's the thing. I think with COVID, with the worldwide pandemic we had, it kind of changed the rules on what may have happened. So let's say COVID would have never happened, right? Maybe by now the economy would have been starting to contract. But because COVID hit, and all of a sudden we had a bunch, worldwide, we had stimulus money, kind of artificial propping of the market happen, it may have delayed what was due to happen. Don't have a crystal ball, and we won't know. But right now, with money being so cheap, consumer confidence being high, the market is still high. What'll happen is, with unemployment running out, what'll happen? Who knows?
Were you in business during 2008 crash?
Absolutely.
And were you doing new builds at the moment?
No.
Were you doing
no.
fix and flips?
I was doing, so in 08 I was doing wholesales.
Oh, okay.
Started getting back into rehabs, I think 2009, 2010.
Okay. So you weren't doing any fix and flips during 2008?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So if the market was to crash, I think you wanted to know maybe if the market does crash, where do you see new builds going?
So new builds will still sell. What we saw last time was big builders did whatever necessary price cuts they needed to be. So here's the deal. If you were a small builder and you had a product that put you in direct competition with a big builder, you got killed. Because big builders were like, hey, if we need to slash the price by $50,000, slash the price by $50,000. If we need to give you a free finished basement, we'll give you a free finished basement, right? Small builder couldn't do that. Small builder's like, nah, I paid X amount for this dirt based on me selling it for X amount. I can't knock 50,000 off of that. I can't just do that.
Not gonna happen.
And so that's one thing I like about infill development. It doesn't place me. There are no big builders, right? A big builder can go to a place that's 90% built up and build. It's not enough for them, right? They need economies of scale. So a big builder wouldn't even look at, let's say there's a neighborhood where you could build 10 houses. A big builder would like, not worth our time a day. Here we got all these resources. We got project managers that drive around, with company polos on and trucks.
Yeah.
Like, we need to unleash them on big projects. We can't unleash them on 10 houses. Like, their salaries alone would make it not profitable.
Right.
So that's one reason I love infill, is I don't have to compete with big builders. So regardless of what big builders are doing, I've got a product that's super scarce already. So not saying nothing will happen, but number one, I'm liking neighborhoods that seem like they're well insulated already. I'm liking neighborhoods that are less susceptible to kind of what the economy may be doing. And so I'm super intentional about the neighborhoods I go after. And also in my business, whether new build, rehabs, I want to have a pipeline, right? So I want to have ideally stuff going out the pipeline where other stuff is coming in, right? As opposed to a warehouse. A warehouse is like, okay, drop 20 new projects in at the same time, and they're all in the same stage. That's a cash flow nightmare. I like the pipeline. I'm like, okay, this is coming out while this is going in. That's ideal. And so, like I say, there are more lots out there, more rehabs out there than I can ever take on at one time because I want that pipeline. I don't want a warehouse.
So you have a whole.
Ideally.
Okay.
Sometimes the pipeline gets jammed up with delays, but ideally,
it's working just like a factory.
That's what we're trying to. That's what I'm always trying to move towards.
Absolutely.
Like a belt line.
Yeah, you got it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So to end this off, this concludes the podcast. But before we go, this is an entrepreneur podcast for all entrepreneurs in every industry. What's some motivation, some word of advice that you can give to the entrepreneurs that are watching this, aspiring entrepreneurs, anybody trying to start off, or just entrepreneurs that are already in business at the moment? What's the motivation that you can end this off with?
I mean, and nothing, look, I'm a community college dropout, man. I'm not, maybe it's the glasses. People think I'm way smarter than I actually am. But the advice I always tell people is, so in this business or any other business, you don't make money because you want to. Like, everybody wants to make money. Everybody in the world wants to make money, right? Regardless of why you want to make it, everybody wants to make money, right? So if wanting to make money was all it took to make money, nobody would be poor, making less than they need to, right? So you wanting to make it, that's cool, right? But your ability to make money is directly tied to your ability to add value, right? And to add value, I mean, go looking for problems. So in a real estate business, we're problem solvers, right? Right. So whether we're if we're a landlord, we're fulfilling a need for housing. Right. If we're a wholesaler, we're finding a seller that has a problem property and matching up with a buyer that has a need for that property. As a builder, we're looking at areas where there isn't enough existing inventory, but there is available land that we can refine. And so ultimately, your ability to be successful in business ties to your ability to solve problems. And there's going to be some big problems, there's going to be some small problems, and every time you run into a problem, I mean, problems suck. But you got to be like, all right, probably not first time and not going to be the last time I see this problem. Let me find a way to deal with it, or find somebody else to deal with it. And that's kind of your key to adding value, and then that's how you that's generally how you
Key
make
to entrepreneurship is to keep on going. There's going to be hurdles, but you keep on jumping those hurdles. Find a way to jump that hurdle. Whatever you got to do, keep going.
Find a way to jump the hurdle faster and better than anybody else.
Ooh, I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Vernon. Vernon, I'm sorry.
Listen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as the wire or the check clears. That's all good. But nah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate the invite, man. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for
Thank you so
sharing your
much.
wisdom. Thank you for everything you have told us.
And before you go, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Vernon Vaughan 1, VERN VAUGHAN, the number 1. Facebook and IG, man.
Yep, we'll definitely have the tag right there.
Okay. So before we go, guys, just remember,
Keep taking action.